If I thought this show was a big one before, what with over 200 tables and occupying an entire Sunday of my life in the past, what do you do when an already impressive show literally doubles in size? Well, for starters, you hunt both on Saturday and Sunday instead of just one day or the other, and you browse the expanded selection of toys, comics, gaming, and much, much more. Let me tell you all about it. This video is brought to you by Canadian Comics, the host of this Vancouver comic and toy show event. Visit CanadianComics.net for all information about this collector show, as well as information regarding their business in buying and selling comic runs and key issues dating all the way back to the Golden Age. The link is in the description below. So I ask the question, can you really have too much of a good thing? Well, when it comes to the things that we collect, the answer is absolutely not. I'll start by saying this. The P&E Forum in the heart of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, where this Vancouver comic and toy show is held, would have already been a destination shopping experience, what with 200 plus tables and over 20,000 square feet in floor space. But the showrunners have decided to double down, and thus here's the divider that used to be a wall that you pulled out so that you could have one end of the forum to yourself. But now you can see there is no more wall divider, and now we can just use the whole darn floor space. And as such, you see the significant expansion that has taken us to the 400 table, 45,000 square foot capacity that now takes a whole weekend to browse through. And I know that the show's advertisement flyer that I flashed up just earlier said that the table count was over 300, but that was at the time that the flyers were printed several months ago and before we knew that it would sell out at 400 tables. Vendors were given the option to set up on Friday night, and I personally did a combination of setting up on both Friday night as well as Saturday morning. As such, here's the result of my 3-table, 24-foot setup, which when you look at the selection and reconcile it back with what you see in my other videos, you'll see a lot of the same toy lines here. For this show, I've been moved closer to the front of the venue compared to my previous floor location at the show, so I felt it was important to optimize as professional looking of a setup as I could in order to give a good first impression for incoming foot traffic. Once again, I'm set up next to my good friends at ages 3 and up, who have brought in some of their Gundam merchandise, their usual amazing Transformer selection, as well as a host of other great products. Cherry Bomb Toys is located in the booth area behind us, being one of the more reputable vendors that we know who traveled in from Vancouver Island via the ferry route. Other than the endless amount of merchandise that this show has to offer, there's also the special guests area, where fans can meet their favorite artists and creative minds. I did also see this neat, life-size remote control R2-D2 unit, and couldn't help but take some footage of it as I felt it wasn't something that you could see every day. And speaking of things that you don't see every day, the good folks at Toy Lords had this incredible setup that was just a total eye-catcher when you walk to the far back end of the show. Now, beyond having a great selection of stuff in acrylic cases, they also had this vintage, top-end Holy Grail Masters of the Universe Eternia playset from 1987, complete with an unbroken monorail. These folks were even nice enough to give me a t-shirt as a souvenir. There really was a lot to see, and the show did have a record-sized attendance for this event's history, though due to the size of the show, it would look really crowded during peak hours, but did thin out during later hours on both days the closer we got to closing time. Now, as you browse the show with me in this video, I do think I need to quiet down for just a moment here and let you enjoy the scenery and take in the sheer volume of collectibles and incredible atmosphere that was here. Naturally, there's no way to catch everything in a single video, but trust that it's a blissful experience to just shop to your heart's desire when you're surrounded by this amount of pop culture goodness. As usual, I did run into a lot of great people, many of whom I already know through just buying and trading within the local area. Though it's always a highlight to meet Ryan Dole, co-host of the ultra-fun Toy Anxiety podcast, who also co-hosts Gotham City Tonight on YouTube and also appears as a semi-regular on Geek Dad Life's YouTube channel as a guest host. There's just an endless amount of eye-catching stuff. For example, you've got this Sergeant Slaughter autograph turnbuckle that I was tempted to grab, as well as a ton of vintage Star Wars stuff, some that even came with their original boxes. There was also G.I. Joe stuff dating as far back as the 1960s, and of course, comics, and more comics. Rows upon rows of stuff to read with lots of key issues and graded issues. If you did get to be one of the fortunate individuals to attend this event, do share your stories in the comments below, or if you're not from the local area, do share some of your own favorite toy hunting experiences from the past. As for my own experience, of course, I couldn't leave this place empty-handed. So let's have a look at my toy haul. On day one, I snagged these two amazing mask items from the 1980s, namely the Outlaw and Raven vehicles. Now, I do already have them in my collection, but I wanted these for the original boxes that just gives me that reminiscent old school toy store feeling. My Sunday haul was also pretty spectacular, where I grabbed this third-party Sharkticon trio from my buddy Jeff, who also sold me this G1 Bumblebee to go into my displays next to the reissue that's already there, as well as this much-needed Diaclone driver to complete one of my holy grails in my collection. I also snagged this issue number 1 of the original Marvel Comics Transformers run in decent condition and for a pretty good price. I also got these two incredible vintage items, namely a Galoob A-Team B.A. Baracus figure from 1983, which came in an acrylic case, as well as a 1986 Marshall Bravestar figure, also sealed and in an acrylic case. Both will make great additions to the collection, and I look forward to featuring them both in future videos. As far as this experience over the weekend goes, it's always great to see a lot of smiling faces coming in and leaving through the door while hearing everyone from good friends to total strangers sharing the tale of how they found whatever toy, comic, or video game that they happened to find while hunting at this show. Ultimately, even with 2 days and with the event open to the public for 6 hours each day, there's just so much to see. I saw several attendees attend both days for several hours at a time, circling the floors and seemingly never getting bored. It's safe to say that the event was a whole heck of a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the next one later this year during the fall season. I'll be more than happy to hunt for toys yet again and tell you all how it went when the time comes. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you can have a look at some of my other content here. Special thanks to the Patreon supporters and channel members of the Toy Connection YouTube channel, whose names can be found in the description section below. And with that, I'll see you all again next time. Thanks again, and take care.